Title of this video is Being a Man with Lilith Conjunction the Sun. So this is kind of a video about me because I have Lilith Conjunction the Sun and I'm a man. So what is this about? Because I've made my group Lilith Astrology, I'm making these videos, I'm talking about Lilith. But how can I talk about Lilith since I'm a man, right? How does it work? Well, first of all, Lilith, of course, doesn't really care about gender. It's a dark feminine archetype. Archetypes, though they may have feminine or masculine energy, obviously they're not about gender. They're not about sex. So what is this? Is it different in a man from a woman? I think so. But only in expression. On the inside, I don't think so, not really. You know, while a woman may be more likely to use manipulation or aggression to express Lilith, a man will actually be more feminine, more expressive in the way he deals with Lilith. So first of all, what's my experience with Lilith in conjunction with the Sun? You know, I've met some people who have Lilith conjunction with the Sun, specifically true Black Moon Lilith, which is object H13. That's one that I have on my Sun, within less than a half a degree orbit, so it's extremely prominent. You know, the closer it is to the Sun, the stronger. The Sun, of course, represents the identity, represents the ego. The ego is like a shell that we create to protect a very vulnerable core. Because we have needs. And when those needs are not met, we get hurt. So we create an ego, which is a sense of self, to protect our needs, to get our needs met. Therefore, in essence, Lilith is how a person protects their identity, their sense of self, when it is conjunction with the Sun. So first of all, what is Lilith? Lilith is about rejection. Lilith is about hatred. Lilith is about things that are taboo, things that we don't like, things that we want to get rid of. Lilith is the outcast, the exile, the witch, hunted with pitchforks, demonized, vilified, and removed from society. So this is interesting, isn't it? So by removing ourselves, we protect ourselves. That's why it is a difficult conjunction to have on the Sun. Because Lilith in essence is in the antithesis to the Sun. Where the Sun tries to shine, Lilith tries to obfuscate, to hide. Which is why it's a kind of a trickster personality. Like I like to refer to Pombagira in African mythology, because it represents gypsies, represents witches. And these usually have to hide somewhere, like hide in the forest, away from civilization. So it's the identity that is controversial. There's something that people get triggered by. They feel like it's forbidden, the forbidden fruit. So, of course, I talked about Lilith in my other videos. How does this work in a man to be the forbidden fruit? What does it mean that I'm the forbidden fruit? Well, it means that it is difficult to get me. I operate outside of the norm. I operate on the outskirts of humanity. How? Well, that's simple. First of all, I'm not straight. I'm homosexual. So that means I'm only attracted to the same gender, which of course makes me operate outside of the norm. Also, secondary to that, I'm an astrologer. So I'm quite an anomaly. I am actually what they would have considered a witch, like long ago. Because people around me think that I'm crazy. My family doesn't really want to talk to me about what I'm doing. They vilify what I'm doing. My father thinks that what I'm doing is demonic. And if I tell this to my friends, they think, what the fuck are you doing? Everything around me has been trying to discourage me from doing what I'm doing. Everything has tried to stop me. Because everybody has been telling me over and over again that there's something wrong with me. But I'm crazy. But I did it anyways. And because I did it anyways, I succeeded. Because the sun is gold. So that means somebody with Sun conjunction Lilith has to do something, but everybody disagrees with, to succeed. You know, it's not an easy placement to have. That means you thrive on disapproval. You thrive on rejection. The more rejection and controversy there exists, the stronger the ego. But according to Carl Jung, the ego is not what people think it is. You see, in astrology, the sun represents the soul, the spirit. It's the spark of inspiration, creativity, self-expression. So it's by doing something that people hate, that people don't like, that people are triggered by, that people love to adore, but love even more to vilify, to hunt with pitchforks, and to demonize. That is going to be your spirit. So this is why, most of the Lilith Conjunction Sun people that I've known, they are daredevil personalities. They are a bit antisocial. They do things that don't work with the people around them. They're usually the black sheep of a family. There's controversy around them. There's usually a lot of chaos. Because it brings a scorpionic blueprint to the personality. Because Lilith has the nature of Pluto and Uranus is exalted in Scorpio. Lilith is like you create trouble. The trouble is necessary because if you don't create the trouble, you're stagnant. You're not yourself. To be yourself is to create problems. And of course, sometimes those problems are necessary. Sometimes the problem is the solution. But other times, and that's what I've seen most of the time, unfortunately with most Lilith people, they create problems where the problem is just them. The problem is not other people. So, of course, just like any other aspect in astrology, the aspect itself is neutral. Whether it's going to express healthily or pathologically depends on the person. But how is it different from a man or a woman? Well, in the men, from what I've observed, there's usually controversial sexuality. The men that I've known that have this, they are bisexual or homosexual, all of them. And they usually hide their sexuality. And they have secret affairs. Or there's some kind of a scandal around them. Also, there's sometimes things happen that create a scandal of embarrassment. Yeah, there's often something embarrassing happens or something shameful. Especially around the man. Because Lilith's sun as a woman, everybody kind of likes you when you are sexual as a woman. But if you are sexual as a man, there's a lot of confusion often around their identity. And there's a lot of repression. So these people are very secretive. With women, on the other hand, usually their sexuality is very expressive. And people consider this person to be promiscuous, like a prostitute. But with a male, the prostitute aspect is usually hidden. It's not easily shared. Because for a man, it is not really allowed to be prostitute-like. It's more taboo. I know this sounds kind of opposite to what people think, but that's what I've observed. That all the men who have Sun conjunction Lilith, they have an inner prostitute that they're not showing. While the women, they are showing the prostitute. And they are actually getting more attention for it. They're actually getting success being that prostitute. While the men, I don't see any success. I really don't. So that's one difference. So what is this actually around sexuality? Does it mean that Sun conjunction Lilith makes a man very sexual? What is that? Well, from what I found, all the men with this conjunction, they've been very sexual. There's often sex addictions actually on the person, or they engage in practices, or they desire certain sexual practices that are taboo. And of course, for a man, what is taboo is usually what's normal for a woman. And for what's taboo for a woman is normal for a man. For example, a Lilith Conjunction Sun man would engage in submission strategies in sexuality. They would give themselves over to the other person in order to experience what it's like to give away control. While the woman, on the other hand, as a Lilith from the Sun, would be the one who tries to take control, like the domina. I found that the shadow of Eve is very prominent in the sexual activities, at least from the archetypal expression in the man, while in the woman, it looks more like Jezebel. I know it sounds funny, but it's just what I've seen. So this is just anecdotal evidence, and what else do you have really to go on? Because there's no statistics on this, there's no science done on the subject, so all that I have is my own observations. And of course I have Lilith conjunction the Sun, I'm an astrologer myself. I've known many people who have this conjunction, and the men, they usually are quite sweet. Sweet, yeah, they play sweet. While the woman, the complete opposite. Like the women who are usually quite aggressive when they have Lilith conjunction the Sun. They're very expressive, very dominant, very assertive, and the men are not. They are the complete opposite. So there are very significant differences actually in expression. I know it is interesting, even though it's the same archetype, but you find this with any other placements in astrology, that it makes a huge difference if you're in a man or a woman in the expression, yeah. Does this apply to all the 4 Liliths? Yes. Yes, of course. It doesn't make any difference what Lilith you're using. All Liliths are the same. I have not seen any differences between them. I have seen people who have the mean version on the Sun operate completely identical to the ones who have the true version on the Sun. So you can use whatever you want. So, what about me? All I've seen so far, to be honest with you, and that applies to any and every aspect in astrology, I've seen only unhealthy expressions. I have not really seen any healthy expressions of Lilith. Except in myself, which of course I am the exception, right? But seriously, what does the healthy expression look like in me? Well, it means that I recognize the intention behind me being me is not to try to trigger other people, but simply me being me, the result is that it's going to be triggering. And I accept that. I used to fight it. I used to hide from being a trigger to other people, which made me hide myself, which is why I engaged exactly like all the other Lilith men that I've known, to live a very rigid, avoidant kind of lifestyle, which I'm self-isolating, not engaging with anybody. But now, now when I go online and I go around and I engage with people, it's like you have a market, like a shopping cart, and you show all your goods, and they can take it or they can leave it. It's up to them. I no longer take responsibility for other people liking me or not liking me. I'm just going to give them my goods. And because I'm born with this conjunction, my goods are always going to be controversial. My goods are always going to be unusual. My goods are always going to trigger people. So I learned to accept that this is just how it is. Because you need to accept yourself. The sun is you. If you have Lilith in the sun, Lilith is you. Of course, it's just an archetype. This is not a deity, it's not the actual person. But you are Lilith, of course, because you are embodying that archetype. It's your soul, the sun. So that means, while another shopping cart may be full of cabbages, your shopping cart is full of snakes and jewels, tarot cards. What else is unusual? Yeah, I don't know. Just unusual, strange, foreign things. That's your stuff. Okay? That's you. Strange, weird, eccentric, unusual, unpredictable. You have no idea what you're dealing with. You can't put it in a box. You can't categorize it. Because Lilith is not in a box. Lilith is the opposite of a box. A box is Saturn. A box is Mercury. A box is Virgo. A box is Gemini. A box is Capricorn. But Lilith, that's Uranus. That's Scorpio. That's Aquarius. That's outside of the box. Outside of society. So that's just how it is. Of course, that's the only place where I can find success. Whenever I try to conform to the group, it backfires. Something really bad happens. My energy gets stifled. I get very bad results. But whenever I'm doing something that is opposing the group, that is adversarial, that is ambiguous, controversial, maybe even hostile or aggressive, as long as it's just me and it's not just to be a bully, none of this shadow personas nonsense, then things work all in my favor and I get many benefits. So for example, a good example of this is, I've once made a post about birth trauma. And you know, Lilith rules birth trauma. Because I used to do birth trauma therapy actually. Because I'm actually a therapist, so I studied birth trauma. I made a post about it, and it had thousands of likes, and half of those thousands of likes were love emojis. Somebody posted my birth trauma post in some feminine mother groups, and those mothers got triggered or aggressive towards my post, and they gathered a mob of people, thousands of people on Facebook, to create a smear campaign against my post and click the love emoji button. Keep in mind, that was not a joke, that post. The post was about the consequences of birth trauma in human behavior. And there were mothers that were complaining that I was being a misogynist, I was talking shit, I was mentally ill, I was deranged, I was a lunatic. So that's what happens. But it was one of the most successful posts I've ever made. My most successful posts on Facebook, all of them have the most hate comments, the most love emojis, the most negative reactions, the most smear campaigns. Every time somebody is doing a smear campaign against me, it's working extremely well for me. I get loads of followers, loads of success, lots of people noticing me and blah, 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 blah. Because the sun is attention. The sun is public recognition, 6 of Wands and Tarot. So Lilith is attention. Lilith is reputation. Lilith is success. Lilith is wealth. Lilith is fame for me. If you don't have that connection, If you don't have Lilith in the 10th house or the Sun or the 5th house, then not you. But me, being hated is a currency. Being hated is a business model. Being hated is money, cash in my bank. So yeah, I learned to deal with that. So if you have this conjunction, or you know somebody with this conjunction, and they're shy, and they're afraid of embarrassment and attack and hatred, they're in the shadow of Eve. Okay, the Lilith shadow is to be Eve. Eve is a slave to Adam, a passive victim of patriarchal control system, somebody who is intellectually controlled, who's not in her feminine, who's not doing anything to upset the status quo, who's hiding, who's self-isolating, who's retreating, who's doing nothing to trigger other people. That's unfortunately most people who have Sun conjunction Lilith. Believe it or not. This is interesting, isn't it? You're thinking, oh, this person has Sun conjunction Lilith, they must be so controversial. Are they though? Or are they the shadow of Eve? Because most of the time they definitely are. And this applies to any and all aspects. How can the person heal it? Easy. Create scandal. Create gossip. Create smear campaigns. Become public enemy number one. Become notorious. Ruin your reputation. Become the exile. And then things will work out very, very well for you. You will get wealth, fame, money. Everything's going to be working fine. Because it's the Sun. Sun conjunction Lilith. So this is why people are like, no, I'm not doing any of that. You are crazy. You think ruin my reputation is going to work for me? I don't think so. It's because people that don't understand this, they're thinking in the wrong way. They're thinking, oh, so you mean I should sacrifice everything? I should just let go of everything? No. That's not what you should do at all. That's not what I'm suggesting. You should attach to yourself and be yourself and stop hiding. Stop masking. That's all. The only thing to let go of is the mask. So this is why often Sun conjunction Lilith has masking issues. Facade, manipulation. You know, if you know anybody who has conjunction, they're most likely not being themselves. They're probably putting on a lot of masks. Why? Because there's usually a lot of trauma from the father. The father reacting with much hatred against the person, trying to suppress them, trying to control them. So the patriarchal control system, the toxic masculinity, the Adam to the Eve, is very strong in that person. And that's what the person has to overcome. The patriarchal control system within their own body and their mind before they can get to the gold behind Lilith. And that's the Lilith journey. So that's important to understand. I haven't really talked about this in my other Lilith videos. So now you know how it works. So I hope it's useful. And yeah, of course you got me. So if you have any questions about Lilith, you can always ask me. If you're interested in a reading or any of my other services to learn anything about the other asteroids or aspects in astrology and how to integrate them, you can book a reading with me. Just look at the description down below. You find the links there. You can look at my services or message me directly on Facebook or email. And if you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe. And thanks for watching. See you in the next video.